be sure to go back and watch that last creator's video. He makes a vulnerable post about why he cheats and about feeling insecure and having problems with self-love. And I want to expand on that. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. And I wanted to speak about this because this is something that a lot of my patients struggle with when they've come to see me in my counseling practice. I think, the word love is a 4-letter word, but it's a very strong word. And Google defines it as having a strong affection or affinity for someone. But I typically tend to think of love as, when I think about defining the word love for myself, I think of the definition in spite of. So in spite of everything, I still have this deep care, this deep affection for you. And this young man who has this video, he talks about how he struggles with insecurity because he feels very insecure. He's not perfect. He has a lot of flaws, and he's worried about people who hurt him, which is exactly the same thing that a lot of the women and men that I've worked with over the years have struggled with. Love is not supposed to be foolproof. You're supposed to make mistakes. It is also a risk. It is taking a risk. It is taking a gamble on both yourself and another person. And I think before you can actually love another person, you have to love yourself. And again, if you go back to my definition, in spite of, and I'll use myself for an example. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I have lots of physical flaws. I have emotional flaws. I'm not by any means, I've made mistakes in my life and so on and so forth. And I think that's going to be a given no matter what they look like on the outside. People are just flawed individuals. That's what makes us human, right? But I'm very open and I'm transparent and I'm vulnerable about that, but I'm also willing to take a risk. And then, I think one of the ways in which you can explore self-love is, again, being vulnerable and transparent about your flaws. And, it's okay to be flawed and then also want to work on those things. So for a good example would be I go to therapy, right? And there's nothing, I think that's the greatest form of self-love, when you could lay out your stuff, right? And you can have a fully open and transparent and vulnerable conversation with another adult and work through your own mess, right? And it's not quick, but it is dirty. It takes years, but once you work through it, you are a much better person for doing that. And that's something that I prioritize for myself. So I think self-love is a way of self-prioritizing yourself. It's also about being intentional with yourself. It's also about being vulnerable and transparent with yourself. And it's also about living your life in a way that's full and that's healthy, and that actually you get to know and like yourself on a much deeper level. So you explore yourself through hobbies, you explore yourself through connections and relationships, you explore yourself by coming of age, you explore yourself through education and other sort of life transitions like your career, other milestones like maybe having a baby or moving across the country and things of that nature. You evolve over time. And so there's different forms of yourself while still remaining the same in a lot of ways. And I think that's the place that you get to in order to become, truly in love with yourself before you add other people to the equation, such as friends, such as community and peers, family, and also loved ones, right? Then you get to that place where you actually want to welcome other people into your life to be able to share experiences with you, to share values with you. And by no means, it's not going to be perfect. Everyone that you invite to come into your life will not get it right the first time. But that's the beauty of life. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be young and dumb before we're old and wise. So we have to make mistakes. We have to learn through the lessons that people teach us. Oh, I can't tell you how many lessons I've learned. I do not look like, what I've been through with some people. And so I invite you to, you have to take risks on people, but you also have to trust that you love yourself enough to know when to make the right decisions for you should something come up. You have to know that you're always going to have your back, whether that be that you have to learn a hard lesson or you jump ship before something happens or whatever the case may be. You have to always trust yourself and be your own best friend first. But know that love is a risk. Love is not something that's always sensible and logical and practical. Love is also something that's not, it can be instance, such as when you lay eyes on a puppy or a kitten or maybe even a baby, so you can have that instant love, that instant attraction there, and something that you know that you're going to love for years to come, and it's going to be a bond that's absolutely unbreakable. But I think by and large, when it's another adult that we're getting to know and we're building a relationship and a connection with, and it's something that you grow into, you start to build a trust, a respect, and an admiration, and together you guys can build a foundation on it. But you also have to know that that person is flawed. They can make mistakes for which you can either work through or you can, see your way out of that relationship and move on and make different decisions. But I think by and large, you have to grow from things. You have to learn from life experiences, and you have to learn from people, because people are also going to teach you about yourself. There's unique situations that we go through in our relationships that allow us to have a deeper connection and a greater understanding for both ourselves and for humanity, right? Like, if you look at what, for example, we're going through right now in the United States, there's a lot of people that are sort of coming together, that are standing in unity, but that's a unique circumstance that presented itself, that allowed us to see how much unity there is among people, right? And so that's a perfect example of like how you would have to go through something, you would have to experience something, before you're able to sort of see that beauty on the other side. And sometimes the reality is sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't, but you do have to take that chance in order to see what's waiting for you. And I encourage all people to, at least at some point in time, take that chance with themselves, if and when you're ready to do so. But I think, part of loving yourself is also making sure that you're not working through self-sabotage, so you always want to work through that. You don't want to like harm yourself or, shortchange yourself or sabotage yourself before you even get your head into the race. You kind of want to give yourself the opportunity to see things through in life, and sort of do whatever it is you need to do to make sure that you get the best opportunity that you can. And I'm sure a lot of us out there that if you're listening to this post that I'm doing, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that may struggle with self-sabotage in some way, form, or another, whether it's through like a test anxiety or through a relationship or through a friendship or maybe with finances. Those are things that we may, we have to sort of work through our own lessons, and we have to be patient with ourselves. We have to be kind to ourselves, and we have to give ourselves enough grace. But most importantly, I think the number one thing that this young man and everyone else that's looking at this and watching, you have to know that you're worth it. You're worthy of love, and you deserve love. And I hope for all of you out there that you have that, because you truly are a gift.